Hey guys, there's a reason why I haven't been uploading videos frequently. My wife and I recently decided to immigrate to Dubai. It's pretty random, but that's what we decided, and we have just been super busy preparing for this for the last couple months. We just got back from our 2 weeks visit to Dubai, and I wanted to create this video to summarize what we learned so far and share it with you guys. I decided to document our entire journey moving to Dubai so that it can be a good reference and information for other people. Maybe you're also looking to move to not just Dubai or like any other country. Leaving everything behind in your home country and moving to a new place is always nerve-wracking experience, and at times it can be quite overwhelming. I know this because I've already done this twice in my life, moving from Korea to Canada and Canada to the UK. So I fully understand this. And so from now on in this YouTube channel, along with the software and AI related videos, I will also be uploading my personal experience and my personal vlogs from the like related to settling down in Dubai, also starting a business in Dubai, and making real estate investments and all the decisions I will be making there, like which locations and what kind of buildings and what kind of people you want to deal with and so on and so forth. So without further ado, let's get started with this first video of our journey to immigrating to Dubai. So when we announced our plans to move to Dubai to our parents, our friends and family, they were very surprised and quite concerned. First, because we've only been in the UK for 5 years and we're planning to move to a different country already, so it may seem like we're not settling down. Um, and the second, we're moving to Dubai, I think is to the Westerners, I think Dubai is still a unfamiliar city and unfamiliar culture. So they were quite concerned about that. So here is the reasons why we chose Dubai out of all the places in the world. Number one reason, Dubai has no tax in many cases, and in some cases they have very low tax. So anything you earn while being a resident in Dubai, doesn't matter where the income source is from. It could be within Dubai or outside of Dubai. All of these rules apply. So 0% income tax in Dubai, as opposed to I'm right now paying more than 40% in UK because I'm a high earner. So that's a lot of money being saved right off the bat. 0% capital gains tax in Dubai. That means anytime you sell stocks, company stocks, and you have profits, anytime you sell properties and you have profits there, you're paying no tax and everything goes into your pockets. In the UK, you pay anywhere between 20 to 28%. I think property sales tend to be the high percentage, 28% in the UK. And corporate tax, again, if you're a business owner and you're running a business in Dubai, in many cases, is a 0% corporate tax. It really depends on what industry your business is in. For example, like banking industry, you're going to have to pay tax, but like who owns a bank, right? You're not going to start a bank. But I'm personally thinking about starting a software consultancy firm, and that is going to be 0% tax. If you were to buy properties under a company and rent them out, I do think that you need to pay corporate tax. So it depends on the industry. In the UK, it's a flat rate of 20% corporate tax for all companies. 5% property rent revenue tax on the annual revenue. So this is in Dubai. And then in the UK, you do have to pay similar property tax, which is over here, it's council tax. And that tends to be roughly about 8 to 10% in my experience, in my area. This depends on the area that you live in. So it's Dubai slightly lower. And 5% VAT tax on goods and services, whereas in UK it's 20% tax. So it tends to be cheaper. Things tend to be cheaper if you go to the mall and buy something. So in a nutshell, Dubai is doing this because it's a port city. It's meant to be where people come temporarily and stay, make money, work and make money, save, and then go back to their country. They actually encourage that. The leadership in Dubai encourage that. They're not positioning themselves to be a city like I don't know, like a London, or where people stay for permanently and for a long time. So with people temporarily staying, of course, people don't need to pay as much tax, right? Because it's not your government, you're just there temporarily. So Dubai is catering to that, and they're catering to that demographics in the world. For me, being a software engineer and also potentially running a software consultancy business in Dubai, not potentially, I've already incorporated, so I am going to be doing that. And I'll share all my experiences there on this YouTube channel. I will be working remotely, which means I will be dealing with clients from outside, from US, UK, Europe, Asia, where they might be paying me more than if I was to go out and find local clients in Dubai. So the revenue is going to be naturally higher, and I will be paying no income tax on that until I hit certain threshold where I'll be making, a lot of revenue, which I don't see that happening anytime soon. So for the time being, for a while, I'll be paying 0% corporate tax and 0% income tax when I pay myself. So it's almost like an income arbitrage, if you can think of it. So yeah, this I don't think like everybody can achieve this. It's mainly for software engineers. So a lot of people, or even people who do freelancing jobs, like graphic designers and video editors and virtual assistants, things like that, you can certainly do freelancing job in Dubai. And your pressure to make more money is less. So you're not pressured to make a lot of money, basically, because you're not giving away money in the form of taxes. So even if you get paid less from your clients, you can survive, and that means it gives you competitive advantage in terms of pricing yourself in the global market. So it's a very good place to be if you want to do such work. Dubai is very safe. So multiple times we were told from the tourists, people who are temporarily staying in Dubai while we were there, from taxi drivers, from hotel front desk, from everybody we talked to, everybody says, "Oh, your wife can just go out by herself in the middle of the night. She could be carrying some expensive handbag or whatever. Nobody will do anything to her." And she did do that, exactly that, and nothing happened, and she felt completely safe. In fact, if she was to wear something revealing, which in Western, like a UK standards, is completely fine the way she dressed, but in the Muslim culture in Dubai, it's not, and the guys would purposely like look away, and she noticed that, and I think that's because their religion tells them not to stare. We're not quite sure why that's happening, but that's happening, and she noticed that, which was completely opposite to what was happening in, for example, when we visited New York in USA. She was getting catcalled by people, even though husband, like myself, is walking beside her. Like people didn't care. So yeah, it's really safe. The quality of private services, what I mean by that is mainly like healthcare and education and all these things. They are quite affordable. Uh, I mean, if I say so, on average, if you were to get like a family healthcare insurance package, like a really really good one, it would be, for example, let's say anywhere between $300, $500. Um, I think. I mean, this depends night and day. It depends on what you get. Of course, if you pay more, you're gonna get better coverage and better coverage for everybody. But for a decent one, really good quality, I would say 300, 500. Of course, in our standards, in our family standards, and also education per kid, it would be, let's say, $500 US per month. So I'm talking all these costs in terms of per month. Um, so $500 per kid. And you may think that that's a lot because right away, if you have two kids and family healthcare, you will be paying anywhere between $1,000 to $1,500 US dollars. And you might think that that's a lot, but if you're not paying any income tax and you have decent income, then it's actually beneficial. And because you're getting all the services from private companies like private school, private hospital, like the quality of services that you get is night and day difference compared to public schools and public hospitals in the UK, in Canada. It's really really better quality. And everything turns out to be, if you all sum it up, like all the private things that you have to, insurances and all these things that you have that goes out as bills every month, it turns out to be much cheaper than your income tax. So and then you get like a lot better service. So it's overall it's better. So people with purpose, what I mean by that, it has to do with the cultural thing, and this is based on my 2 weeks visit in Dubai, and so it's quite anecdotal. So I would take that as a grain of salt. But I did interview, I think, more than 20 people when I was there. Every chance I got, when I went outside, even to get an ice cream or a drink, I would just, you know, start talking to people randomly who might be smoking in front of the shop and whatnot. And I've spoken to construction workers, restaurant servers, all kinds of salespeople in the mall, and people who are working at hotels. And what I noticed was that yes, people are working a lot, way more than people in the West, and they're there to just basically work. And from our standards, they're way underpaid because there's no minimum wage regulation in Dubai. What that means is anybody who's willing to work cheaper from anywhere in the world is going to have a competitive advantage of getting hired. So everybody's going to bid for lower pay and come here and start working. So it's a good place for employers, but you can argue it's not a good place for employees. But in fact, when I spoke to them, they were uh, tired and they had a lot of things to complain about, but they didn't. In fact, what they were talking to me about is how they're saving up and how they're sending money back home and how they are investing into real estate and how they're trying to buy farmlands so that they can retire or go back home early and start farming, which is not something that their, I guess, village or neighbors cannot dream of having. But they're coming here and they're working, they're hard and sending the money back. So they have plans and they have purpose for why working so much. Whereas in the West, a majority of people that I come across who are local, they do the jobs that they do 9 to 5. I guess like I don't know, even working as a cashier in local supermarket. There's no purpose to it. It's just kind of to survive. You work, so it's there's no like a light at the end of the tunnel. So that's why a lot of people in the West are frustrated and not happy. But over there in Dubai, people are purposeful. They're there for a reason. As you know, I'm a real estate investor, and I see Dubai as a land of opportunity for me to get in early into a young city. People say there's a real estate bubble in Dubai, but what I experienced after going there and looking at like many properties and talking to a lot of real estate agents is that all the luxury condos and apartments along the shoreline, I think I do agree there's a bubble there. They're all bought out, but a lot of them are empty and they're on the market for renting, but people are not taking because it's too expensive. And for some reason, then the price should come down, but the price is not coming down. So all the buyers, what I think is that these are rich people from all over the world who invested early and bought these properties in the luxury market, and they're not willing to sell because they don't have a reason to. It's just a place for them to park their money. But I see that more construction work is being done in the next level, like away from the shoreline, and is going to continue to expand like that into the desert inland. And I think there's a lot of opportunity there in terms of worker housing. So it's always going to be renting out, which is what I like to do. And that's where I think I want to go in early and invest. So yeah, those are the reasons why we chose to move to Dubai. Let's talk about the culture in Dubai because this was the biggest shock for us, and it was very different from what we expected. All the other stuff like taxes and Dubai's weather and stuff like that, they're kind of objective facts, so they were more or less accurate. But when it came to the culture, we read some alarming stuff online, and this was the thing that we wanted to verify by being there physically and talking to a lot of people. And I interviewed more than 20 people, like I said, and this turned out to be very, very different. So there's no strict Muslim laws, like I think Sharia laws, or something that's not being enforced at all. And in Dubai, there's diverse religions being practiced, and there's of course like on the streets, and you hear like the Muslim temples, and there's people singing, and you can hear like from their speakers, you can hear loud singing from the streets. But people do set up their own temples in the city, and they practice their own religion. And there's no persecution for having other religion, like not like in North Korea or in China. There's no strict dress code being enforced wherever you are, whether that be indoor or outdoor. The I've heard some stuff about Dubai Mall where you shouldn't be showing as a female, as a woman, you shouldn't be showing your shoulders. You should be covering your toes and things like that. You should be wearing something that goes below your knees. But I don't know, like maybe that's the written law or like a rule. Because I do see these rules on restaurants' websites as well. Like there's dress code. But like when you actually go into the mall and go to the restaurants, and you see these tourists from the Western world, they're all wearing revealing clothes exactly the same way that you would see in London and in America and Canada. So it's not being enforced at all. And I even talked to the waitress, and she was like, "Yes, it's written. The dress code is written on their website, but yeah, right." So I think in other parts of the UAE, these things are more strict, but at least in Dubai, it's not. The alcohol consumption is now allowed in Dubai in licensed places. So there are other strict Muslim areas in the Middle East where that's not allowed at all. But in Dubai, you can drink if you want. Just don't be like really drunk and cause a scene. That will be a problem. So it's a very much an international city with diverse cultures. There's people from like more than 200 countries in that little city, and people wear diverse traditional clothes. Like I don't see this happening in London or Canada, like Toronto, where I'm from. It's very like Toronto and London are diverse cities, but people don't go outside with wearing their traditional clothes on a regular day. If you walk in Dubai, you're gonna see like Indian people wearing their own traditional clothes, and then there's other cultures that I can clearly tell that they're somewhere like from Turkish kind of area, but I can't really pinpoint on what country they're from. But yeah, you can see these people wearing their own hats and stuff, and they're just walking around. So it was really cool to see that. And when I go live in Dubai, I might just pick up some Korean traditional clothes and walk around. So I might do that too. Diverse restaurants. Yeah, so with diverse culture, you're gonna have cuisines, right? So that's no brainer. So you're gonna have access to all kinds of food. I've never tasted, for example, like Uzbekistan food, and I had a lot of that in Dubai, and that was amazing. So it's very much capitalism. I would say it's um, probably similar to what USA experienced in the 1930s and early 1900s, which was the American dream. Um, and you can see that being played out now. I'm not too sure if American dream exists in USA or Canada, but that's a whole different topic. But like in Dubai, you can see that happening right now, and it's pretty exciting. And fluid people migrations, as I mentioned, people are there to stay temporarily, and that's the culture there. So if you are making friendships and you're staying there for a long time, like what we were planning to do, I think we're going to be like pretty much the first generation of people who are going there to settle for a very long time permanently. Um, I think Dubai is pushing for these middle class people from all over the world to come in. You can see that with their property constructions, developments that are happening. It's very much a lot of villas, townhouses, and that come with amenities like schools and malls and shopping, supermarket and gym and everything packaged within the community together. So the government is really pushing for that right now, I think. But in the end, there's majority of the population is there temporarily, and they're kind of there to work because their companies move them, and they're there to make money and go back to their home country. So that's the culture there. For the first week of our visit in Dubai, we decided to stay in this Dubai Marina place, as you can see in this map. It's right by the Palm Jumeirah, which is really famous, and it's an area where they've made this waterway, and it's all completely seawater here. And then there's various different yacht parking lots, like the yachts and boats that the wealthy people own. There's parking lots everywhere here, and you can see how the water is very calm at night and during the day all the time, and you can see the boats going in and out of the marina. So, and around the waterway, there's all these residential buildings and hotels that are there, and it's basically an area predominantly occupied by wealthy Western tourists and residents that are staying in Dubai. I think the workers that are coming from poorer countries, they cannot afford to rent this area because it's way too expensive. So renting one bedroom place in Marina, I can speak on behalf of my wife because this is strictly my wife's preference and what she thinks is an ideal price range. And that's 100K to 130K dirhams per year, which translates to 1,800 pounds to 2,200 pounds per month. And that's not too bad for British people because, especially in London, you can easily find anything that's more expensive than that price range. And if you compare the living condition, like the quality of the house, it's night and day difference. Like the place in Marina is cheaper and much better. It's more spacious. It's got a better view and things like that. I mean, with that price range, you're not necessarily going to get the marina water view and the ocean view. You'd have to get lucky. But yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good living. I mean, if you want those views, then you're going to have to pay easily like over like 2,500, easily over 3,000 pounds. I wouldn't be surprised per month. So yeah, so that's the renting situation. There's a lot of foreigners living there in Marina, so obviously people from the Western world can afford this, but people who are working in Dubai, coming from poorer countries, there's unfortunately their income is not gonna be able to cover the rent, such high rental price. We felt that in Marina, all the buildings are lit up at night. There's even a tower called Sparkle Tower that just sparkles all night long. And then there are boats and yachts that are completely lit up. So we felt that it's aesthetically very pleasing to look at night. It was really cool and beautiful. And this is the biggest, for us, the biggest reason why we should live in Marina, which is there's lots of close by amenities. There was 24/7 supermarket, which was really big, and lots of restaurants from like of different types of cuisine. And there's a lot of pharmacies, and then there's a mall that's Marina Mall that's nearby, and that's really big. So yeah, just very convenient life if you live there. You don't need a car. You can just take the metro that's nearby and take the train to wherever you need to go to work. There's the Dubai Internet City if you're a tech worker, and you can take the metro all the way to downtown, and that's gonna take you about 20 to 30 minutes. And Dubai Metro is one of the best in the world I've seen. And I am coming from Korea, which is known to have a really good metro system. And I've looked at Canada, which was worse than Korea for sure. And then I've seen UK, which is worse than Canada. So yeah, Dubai metro system. There's no train operator, nobody like that, and it's fully automated. It's really convenient. And yeah, if you live in Marina, your life is set. Like it's really convenient. And then on the last week of us staying, sorry, the last couple days of us staying in Marina, we took the time to go to the Dubai Expo. And at the time when we visited, this is like a couple years after the Dubai Expo was open and closed. And now all the countries, their pavilions are closed and most of them are demolished. And it's actively being repurposed to be a business district and residential district. So I wouldn't be surprised in the near future there's going to be a lot of off-plan sales of the properties, and all people from all investors from all over the world are going to jump on this. The reason being is that, oh, well, before I get into that, I'll just get into Dubai Expo itself first. We went there and we visited the pavilion, several pavilions that are still open. Our favorite was the mobility pavilion, which was very futuristic, and all the other pavilions were quite impressive as well. But the weather was way too hot for us to walk around too much. So we only looked at several, out of the several ones that are open, we only looked at four, and then we came back. There's workers, they drastically reduced the number of workers in the expo. There's only about still a couple thousand workers there. And of course, the workers there, I had a good chat with the guy who's giving us a guide. And I think his salary was very, very low. I think the whole place is winding down. And yeah, anyways, that's the expo. And we quite enjoyed it. I think from the repurpose of the expo area, it's going to be a very interesting one because there's a second airport that's being built right beside the export, and that's going to be the biggest airport in the world. And I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't become the most fanciest fanciest airport in the world. Like a lot of shiny things and a lot of, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. And it will be an interesting investment opportunity to say buy a property there in the expo and rent it out for short lets. It's going to be very convenient for the tourists to, land right away and go to the Airbnb place right away. So yeah, so there's some opportunities there. On the second week of our Dubai stay, we were in downtown, And this is the area that's like kind of here, like the circular area here. And it includes Burj Khalifa and Dubai Mall. So Burj Khalifa is like the world's tallest building, and Dubai Mall is the world's biggest mall. So there's a lot to see here. And we went there during the off season, which is the summer, and there were still a lot of people. So I can only imagine how busy it's going to be during the peak season. And just to give you an idea of how big the mall is, my wife and I basically walked in a straight line. We went on, there's four levels in this mall, and we picked one floor and we just went straight from one end to the other without going into any individual store. We just walked, and that took us 1 hour and a half, just slowly, casually walking. And because there's four floors, we estimate that that's gonna take roughly about 5 to 6 hours to do no shopping. There's no shopping, just walking. So it's gonna be like about 5 to 6 hours. So that's how big this is. That was ridiculous. I've never seen so many shops in my life. So in this area, we also found the rental properties to be similar price as Marina. So again, according to my wife's preference, she prefers the properties that are anywhere between 100K to 130K, exactly the same price range. So 1,800 to 2,200 pounds per month. And you can get a very nice, in this case, unlike the Marina, you can get a very nice view with this price range, looking at the Khalifa and the mall. If you want something less, you don't really care about the view, but you still want the decent sized one bedroom place, then you can easily find something that are between 70 to 90K range. One biggest difference between the Dubai downtown that I noticed compared to the Western downtowns that I looked at, like New York City, Toronto downtown, and London downtown, is that Dubai's skyscrapers are very spaciously placed. So the distance between one skyscraper to the next is much, much larger than the spaces between skyscrapers in the Western cities. And I think that's because of the city planning. Like back in the days when the Western cities were being developed, the roads were much smaller, and that's why the buildings are like packed together in small area. So you really like if you walk in New York City, you really feel like you're surrounded and you're just like cramped inside a jungle of concrete buildings. But in Dubai, that's not what you get. These skyscrapers are also very beautiful to look at. They're fully lit up and sparkles. And because they're so spaciously placed, you feel like it's so much bigger, but you really grasp the entire like the scale of the place, and you feel like you're standing in the middle of some kind of a majestic place. That at least that's how I felt. So that spacing of the skyscrapers really made a big difference for me. And other than that, there's not much to say about downtown because overall we knew right away that it was way too busy and it's not a place but that we wanted to settle down. So we kind of took it as like a touristy area, and that's about it. We decided this is not the place for us to live in. Towards the end of the second week, just before we returned to the UK, we went on this desert safari experience. Since it was our first time seeing the desert, like for both me and my wife, we thought that we needed a proper introduction. So we paid for a pretty expensive package, which was about £900 for two people. It was a 8 hour tour, and the guide came to pick us up in our downtown hotel at around 3 p.m. He came with this nice white Range Rover with good air conditioning inside, so that we can enjoy the desert from the inside of the car. Because during the day, the desert was like incredibly hot. It probably was hitting mid 40 degrees. So when the sun was up in the afternoon, we drove around the desert to see the wild animals, man-made oases, and sand dunes. We were surprised at how Dubai's desert had so many plants compared to, let's say, the North American ones that I'm used to, which has only rocks and, let's say, like cactus. So as the sun was setting down, we were moved to the Falcon Show, where we saw the world's fastest animal fly around and then doing tricks for us. And then we went on the camel ride with the beautiful sunset, and it was just perfect timing. And we went to the dining place, which was about 20 to 30 minutes camel ride. And there we were served 5 course meal, fine dining, and the meals were great, really delicious. And After the meals were done, we watched the fire show while having our desserts. And then to finish everything off, the place actually turned off all their lights, so it became completely dark, and everybody sat on the beanbags to gaze at the stars in the night sky with the guide educating us, like with his laser pointer, and basically telling us where the constellations are and things like that. So it was a really cool experience for us. That's it for this video. It's still a green light from us after visiting Dubai for 2 weeks, and we're pushing ahead with immigrating to Dubai. It's going to be pretty busy for us for the next 1 month, but every time there's interesting stuff that I want to cover and put on the YouTube channel, I'll be doing so, and I'm really looking forward to sharing this whole experience with you guys.